a weirdly short fringe today. Hey there poetry pals, happy 2022 and welcome back to another video. This week I'm doing the Booktube Newbie Tag. But before we go any further, if you're new here, subscribe, give this video a like and comment down below what you're currently reading. And while we're on the subject, why don't you follow me on social media? I am at Josie Alford Poet on all of the things. But Josie, I hear you ask, you're not new to YouTube. Why are you doing the Booktube Newbie Tag? Well, that is because this is a sign. This is me saying that I am joining the Booktube community. I will be talking a lot more about books. Over the last couple of years, we've talked a lot about writing poetry. We've done a couple of bits about reading poetry, but going to be talking a lot more about books. Yes, a lot of poetry, but also just like books, innit? If you are unfamiliar, Booktube is the name of the book reading community on YouTube. Beautiful little portmanteau there of Booktube. And if you are from the Booktube community and you found me through this tag, welcome, hi, hello. My name's Josie. I am in my late 20s. I am a poet. I love reading poetry, and like I'm pretty sure everyone else out there got a degree in English literature, but I've also got a master's in creative writing, so So the part of this tag is that I'm going to answer a set of questions. So here we go. Question number 1 is, why did you start this channel? First of all, I started this channel as a way to share my poetry. I realised that a lot of opportunities, especially in spoken word and performances, involved being able to provide examples of your performances. So that's why I started. In fact, if you scroll all the way down to my earliest videos, there are some potato-like quality videos of me performing from years ago. So that's why I started the channel, but I started posting regularly because I realised that I had a lot of knowledge from going to uni and you know, doing my masters, and I realised that I knew a lot about the academics and the nerdiness and the technicalities of poetry, that I didn't think that people should have to get thousands of pounds into debt for. So I decided that I wanted to share my YouTube knowledge, share my poetry knowledge with everyone on YouTube, so that with the vibe of I did 2 degrees so you don't have to kind of thing. Why YouTube? Because I'm bloody obsessed with it. I watch so much YouTube. I watch it more than I do any other platform. Especially, who watches actual TV anymore? Crazy. Share poetry, share knowledge. Why am I joining Booktube? Because I think I can bring some poetry. That brings us to question number 2, which is, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to Booktube? Woo! A weirdly short fringe today. I'm definitely going to be talking mostly about poetry. I think it is something that doesn't get talked about enough in Booktube channels. And yeah, so definitely going to be talking mostly about poetry. And yeah, so the other types of books will be less, but more poetry. Also, I'm hilarious. Or at least I think so. And I guess the other thing that I'm bringing to Booktube is not all of my videos are going to be Booktube videos. I'm going to be doing videos about how to write poetry, how to get published, all that good stuff. Question 3. What are you most excited about for this new channel? I think the thing I'm most excited about is trying new things. Definitely sharing more poetry book recommendations, and I'm excited because over the next year I will be, hopefully, COVID depending, I will be going travelling for a few months, and I'm excited to take you guys with me and learn about the poetry of the countries that we will be travelling to. So that's fun. That's something I'm excited about. And I'm excited to build the community of poetry pals. Yeah. Question 4. Why do you love reading? I like reading for a lot of reasons. I like reading to escape reality for a bit. Love that. That's probably the number one reason. I love reading to learn things. That applies to just, knowledge-y, science-y, history stuff. But also, I love learning about other people's experiences. I grew up in a very small town in the southwest of England, and it was very white and very small, and I didn't really learn about experiences outside of that until I was already an adult. And now it feels like I am making up for it for lost time, and I really like reading about people's life's experiences and experiences that are different to mine. Love that. And I also love reading to appreciate and nerd out about the art of writing. When it comes to poetry, I love reading poetry as a way to reflect on my life, and to think about the content and what is being said. Love that. I love the how poetry can get you thinking, but I also love getting into the artfulness of the writing and appreciating that sort of like intellectual nerdy satisfaction of really getting into poetry. And I guess that applies to I think it applies to all books, to be honest. The other day I was listening to A Boy Called Christmas by Matt Haig, and that was on audiobook, read by Stephen Fry, and we were driving and I spent the whole time giggling because I just loved the way he phrased things. So yeah, I guess escaping reality, learning new things, and then appreciating the artfulness of writing. What book or series got you into reading? Look, are we even going to pretend it's anything other than Harry Potter? That's the earliest book I remember reading, but I was always a reader. Like, I read loads. That classic formally gifted thing of making reading your entire personality. No shade to Booktube, no shade. But it's true, isn't it? Yeah, so I always read a lot. Harry Potter is one of the earliest ones, and the other one that I remember reading quite a lot was Darren Shan, The Hobbit, Northern Lights, the Narnia books. So those were all quite formative books of my childhood. But as it comes to what book or series got you into reading, I guess the strictest answer would be like Biff, Kif and Chip. one of those books which you learn to read on. Yeah, that. I don't know. Question 6. What questions would you ask your favourite booktubers? One of my favourite booktubers is Jen Campbell. Hi Jen. She really cool. I got DYCP funding from Arts Council England to learn more about like poetry and taking it to new spaces and stuff like that. And I was able to have mentoring with her. So I actually got to ask her lots and lots of questions and learn a lot more about her through that. And I guess the question I would ask her now is because she's written like non-fiction books, she's written children's books, she's written poetry. I know that like for her first love was poetry, obviously. It's what everyone should be. I guess my question would be like, how hard was it to get back to poetry? Because like she the first book that she published was about being a bookseller and all the weird things she gets asked for that or whatever. And I guess my question is like, when did the poetry come? Like how did the poetry collection come about? And can I have a free copy? No, I'll buy it, don't worry, I'll buy it. Okay, what challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? Yeah, that question isn't, anyway, it's the one I found, but what challenges in starting a booktube channel do you think will be the hardest to overcome? Really easy for me. I know which one's going to be the hardest to overcome. Reading enough books to talk about. Y'all are crazy in the booktube community. You read so much. And like people have these like thumbnails where they're like, ooh. And they're like, oh, this haul or everything I read in January and it's this thick. And I'm like, how? How? I think also like one thing to definitely say is, how are these people, one, having the time to read all these books, but two, having the money to buy all these books? Let's be honest, booktube isn't exactly a huge money maker on the YouTube, is it? So how? I think there's a whole video about this that I'm going to go into, but yeah, reading enough books, having the time to read enough books, and then having the money to buy those books, but also having the money to take the time to read. We'll talk about it another time. When did you start reading? As soon as I could. I don't know. When do you start learning to read? Because that's when I started. I found reading books incredibly easy. It's just that classic nerdy, teacher-pleasing, formally gifted child story where as soon as I was able to read, I started reading. My reading age was always higher than my actual age, and sure, it led me to read some books that I did. Oh, sorry, my neighbour is walking their puppy. And the puppy's got a little coat on, but he hasn't quite grown into it yet. Yeah, so I ended up reading some books that were probably not age appropriate for me. Where do I read? I actually read right here. Made myself a little reading / filming nook in my office, in my teeny tiny office. So yeah, I read here, I read in bed, and I read down on the sofa sometimes while my husband's cooking or playing video games. But I guess most of the reading I get done is when I'm travelling or on holiday. That's definitely where I read the most. Normally because I don't have Wi-Fi or data. What kind of books do you like to read? I would say that as I've grown older and like left uni, that's changed quite a lot, and I'm sort of enjoying the process of exploring, or at least like my 20s has been a journey of exploring what type of books I do like to read. Obviously number one is poetry, duh. But when it comes to fiction, I really enjoy fantasy and sci-fi. Probably sci-fi a little bit more. I think there's a part of me that enjoys what fantasy fantasy and sci-fi has to say about the world we actually live in. I think it ticks the boxes of that escapism, but I also enjoy the social commentary that comes with fantasy books. Also, been getting into a lot of non-fiction recently, especially with the rise of the audiobook in my life, I really enjoy a non-fiction book. I think it's great for tidying the house and having a listen, having a learn. It's just like a long podcast and non-fiction audiobook, isn't it? So yeah, that. What does your book collection look like? Well, let me show you. So this is where I sit and film. This is my main bookcase with poetry on the top shelves, and then fiction down here. It's a bit of a mess. If you think this is a bit of a mess, you should see what's coming up, but comment if you would like to see a book sorting video. This is another stack of books. You could interpret these as my to be read, but I'd probably say it is more likely that it is some to be read and some that I use a lot in YouTube videos anyway. For example, the romanticism book, Kate Clanchy's there. No one should read that. I feel like all the really neat and aesthetic booktubers are going to be judging me, but this is my second bookcase. This is basically all of my non-fiction-y stuff, a load of like my husband's books, lots of like big books down there, like photography books and stuff like that. But yeah, it's also got any duplicates because I've got a load of Shakespeare plays. Yeah, these are the books I don't read, to be honest. Apart from quiz books. I'm a quiz host. Yeah. Cookbooks. Yeah. And finally, the downstairs toilet collection. Surely everyone has a collection of toilet books, right? These are the ones where history of contraception in the Catholic Church, pictorial history of the Third Reich, and the story of Brexit, and some Trump poems. So that is it. That is me having done the Booktube Newbie Tag. Thank you so much for watching. Hello if you're new here. Please like this video and subscribe. Comment down below what you're reading at the moment and also what you want to see from me next. And while we're on the subject of engagement and all of that good stuff, you can follow me on social media. I am at Josie Alford Poet on all of the things. And if you want to support the channel, you can buy me a coffee or join me on Patreon. The links to do all of that are in the description down below. If you're new to this channel and you're thinking, poetry, that sounds interesting, I would love to learn more, then definitely check out my playlists and other videos. I'm sure you will love them, of course. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all next week. Bye.